Good morning, good afternoon, whenever you're watching this video. This is Tracy Brown here. And so it's Tuesday, obviously, and I'm doing my daily around town, doing kind of at-home visits, which is I do a lot on Tuesdays. And so before I go to the next thing, I had to get one of my favorite bakery. Oh, it's so good. These little shortbread cookies with raspberry inside. They're kind of like, I don't know how to explain. They're shortbread kind of, but they're so soft. They're so good. Oh my gosh. Love them. I wish you were here with me to have some with me, but they're good. So there's not a bad time of day for those kind of cookies. That's for sure. And I hopped in the store to get a new coffee pot, since two things. My old, you put the little cup in thing, coffee pot I've had for 10 years. It's worked great, but it's leaking and not working that great anymore. And I was kind of sick of buying all those little things. And if you break down the cost, it's either breaking down the cost of making those and keeping those in stock, or buying coffees all the time, which is what I do. I'm like, why don't I just get like a good old-fashioned coffee pot again and buy good coffee that I really like. So that's what I did today, and I will let you know how that experiment goes. You will definitely still see me with little cups of coffee, because I love coffee. I like the whole experience of it. Definitely emotional. And that's okay. That's part of life. Which goes into our tip today, Tip Tuesday, which is let's help our clients not demonize food cravings so much. And yesterday we talked about romanticization of thinness, but I also, the flip side of this is that we also demonize eating emotionally. We demonize that it's so terrible. People are like failures. They feel that way, at least, when they crave Twizzlers and they go get 2 bags and eat half, like 3/4 of 1 bag at a time, or they go into their favorite bakery and they buy what they wanted plus some, and not because they want to save it for later, but because they felt kind of bad for wanting what they wanted in the first place. And so they get something that maybe they know they would like, but they also feel like they shouldn't have, and so they're binging on it in secret in the car. Let's help our clients not demonize those behaviors, those thoughts, and let's help them break it down, unpack that. So I kind of just listed right there something that's really important. So this is how I would say it, is that I wonder what that could be about, that that you got the little cookies that you really love from the bakery, and they're so good, and of course you should enjoy that. So I want to ask you, what's not okay about that, and see what they say. And I'm wondering, if you didn't feel bad about getting the cookie that you wanted at 9 a.m. and not because you're extremely hungry, but maybe just a little bit, and that's where you happen to be, and you really like those little cookies, what's not okay about doing that? And when did it become true that you're not the sovereign adult over how you do your day and your life? Who says you can't do those kind of things? See what their beliefs are. See what is causing the shame or the self condemnation or whatever it is, and keep breaking it down with them. If you help them see what, for me, this cookie thing isn't like a craving. It's just, I was there and I'm a little bit hungry, and I didn't want something super sweet, but I wanted something that was really good with coffee. And so these were all like kind of supportive decisions I was making. There are other things at that bakery that are super good that I would like, but I just wasn't hungry enough for them, but I wanted a little something. So intuitive eating. If I wanted something a little more dense and rich, I would have gotten that and eaten just as much as I wanted to, and save the rest. Intuitive eating, because I know I can go back to that bakery, and literally I do almost every single day. Not a big deal. So the thought is, like, what makes it not okay for our clients to have what they want? Or are they having the things that they may kind of want, but not with full permission? So we need to find out those answers. If you don't know those answers, we're kind of just guessing if they're intuitive eating, or kind of just guessing if they're eating emotionally or not. We don't want to go deeper than surface level. The other part of it is when it's straight up, like, I wasn't really hungry. I had a client. This is a really such a good example. So I had a client. She worked from home except for 1 day a week. And she liked her job pretty well, but as we kind of got to know each other more and more, I could tell, like, there were parts of it she really liked, and there were parts that just weren't in alignment. And she hadn't really gotten to the understanding that like it could change if she spoke up about it, and she was just afraid to speak up because really her situation was pretty flexible. Her boss is pretty good. It's just things were done the way that it had always been done, but she needed something different, and it probably could change, but she wasn't at that place yet. But anyway, she was finding herself probably at least a couple times a week, like she lived in town, so she could just kind of get her house and walk to like a CVS or a Walgreens or whatever and go in and buy candy. And so I would ask, and she was really frustrated by this. It probably was impacting her weight to some degree, but you know, the degree it was changing weight was not as much as she perceived it to be, because her set point was just higher. But anyway, she was just really struggling with this, you know, lots of self-blame, lots of shame around going there and buying a certain kind of candy that she'd grown up eating. And it was kind of hard to find, but she could find it at that one drugstore that wasn't that far from her house. So she would leave her home office and walk there. And totally it was probably only a 30 to 40 minute break from her work. You know where I'm going with this. And she would like get really frustrated. She'd eat some of the candy on the way home, and she'd eat a little bit more when she got back. And as she got better with intuitive eating, she was eating less candy because she could tell more when she'd had enough of it. But she was still in that habit of like going there. And I said, and I had her just break down, like, I wonder what the chewing and the walking and the whole experience of this whole getting the candy does for you and means for you. And so again, you keep unpacking it, and really don't be afraid to go into like the textures, the sensations, standing, sitting, you know, how and when and where is she doing everything, and what's happening in her inner experience. Basically what we came to find out is that, like, you can probably guess where we're going. She was eating to take a break, eating because she wasn't having very much fun in her life, eating because she was kind of chewing away the fear she had about, she knew she was going to have to speak up at some point about just a little aspect of her job to make it just easier for her. And she has so much fear. That was one of the big things. One, giving herself permission to take a break, and two, feeling like this helped soothe her fear to speak up, and because she knew she needed to. And as all that came to the surface, and we worked on less shame, because it took her a while, like we took probably 3 sessions, maybe 4, to reduce the candy. And not because she couldn't go get the candy. I wanted her to have as much candy as she needed to and wanted to. It was more about, was she eating the candy just out of, you know, enjoyment, pleasure, whatever, 90-something% of the time, and making sure when she ate, she was clear about like her hunger, fullness, her need for fuel, her need for satisfaction, and whatever else could be up for her in her life. So just getting her to separate it out. But she had a really hard time with any kind of non-hunger eating because of this whole candy issue. She was almost like, I can't look at anything else because this is too shameful what I do. I'm like a grown-up and I'm really successful, and why am I still doing this one behavior? And until I could help her have less shame about it, be more curious about it, it just kept happening, and her frustration got bigger and bigger and bigger. And the frustration came out, you know, in session. She wasn't somebody who hid her anger or frustration. It was in there, and not directed at me, but highly palpable in the session. So, you know, that was something I personally had to work through as well, as somebody being that, like, you know, our growth as clinicians and practitioners is not taking our clients' frustrations personally, even though we might have room to grow. It's still like, you know, it's a mutual thing here. So, you know, I really needed to work on sitting with like how, like, angry is not the right word, but just how like irritated and frustrated and all that she was. And it's because it was so hard for her to be vulnerable, to look at like, this is what this was about. It's not because you're a failure. That was a hard thing for her. So a lot of things were up, and I kind of encourage you guys, you're tracking these different parts, to like make little notes around your paper so you can keep track of like all the things at play, so you're not like, okay, what is this and what's that? You kind of know the web, and you're working on helping them untangle that web. So hope this video was helpful today. again, please tell your friends. And, you know, we want more friends in the group so we can take turns like sharing our experiences, and I think it's going to make the group richer for that. So thank you so much. Take care. Talk to you soon.